Okay, so this lesson is on arithmetic series. It's kind of building on the one we did with arithmetic sequences. With the series, we're looking for the sum of all of the numbers. So before we start anything, I want you to write these two formulas down. This is the formula to find the sum of the terms, and we're going to go back and use this formula that you used in the first lesson. This will tell us what the nth term is. So if I say, I want the 16th term, we're going to use this formula. So write both of these down, pause it, write them down, and then we'll continue. All right, so write down this first example, and I'm going to go through how we're going to find the sum of the first 25 terms. So if you remember, our formula is n divided by 2. N is the number of terms. So that's where I'm going to start. There's 25 terms, so I'm going to do 25 divided by 2. And then in parentheses, it's a sub 1, that means your first term, and a sub n, that means your last term. So a sub 1 in this set of numbers is 3. The very first number is 3. So what goes here is the 25th term, which I do not know. It only gives me the first 4 terms. So that's why I said we got to go back to this formula that we learned 2 weeks ago. This formula is what I'm going to use to find the 25th term. So I'm going to do this in blue over here. To find the 25th term, we're going to do A, that's your first term. So again, our first term was a 3, plus D. Remember, D is what we're changing by. So to get from 3 to 12, and 12 to 21, and 21 to 30, we're going up by 9 each time. So that's going to be my D. And then I need N. Again, N is the number of terms we're looking for. So in this one, I'm looking for the 25th term. And then it ends with a minus 1. So this formula here is going to tell me the 25th term. So let's get our calculators. I got 3 plus 9, and in parentheses 25 minus 1. So that gives me 219. So my 25th term, what goes right here, is 219. So to find the sum of all of those terms, I'm going to type this formula in my calculator. 25 divided by 2, and in parentheses 3 plus 219. So the sum of the first 25 terms of this series is 2,775. All right, I know your minds are probably blown, so let's do another one. Copy down number 2, and I'm going to walk you through all the steps again. All right, so to find the sum, I do how many terms? There's 25 terms divided by 2. And in parentheses, we put the very first term, which was 16. And then again, I need the 25th term, which I do not know. So I'm going to use the formula right here to find the 25th term. So A is your first term. That's going to be 16. Plus D is what I'm changing by. This time, I'm going down to get from 16 to 12, 12 to 8, 8 to 4. I'm going down by 4. So my D is going to be a negative 4. I want the 25th term, so that's going in for N, and it's always minus 1. So 16 plus negative 4, and in parentheses 25 minus 1. So the 25th term is negative 80. So that's what I'm going to plug in right here, negative 80. That is the 25th term in this sequence. So to find the sum, I'm going to do 25 divided by 2, and in parentheses 16 plus negative 80. So the sum of the first 25 terms of this series is negative 800. All right, this is a totally new format for you. You've never seen this. This little E is called summation. That just means we want the sum. K is where we're starting, so we're starting with the first term. The number on top is how many terms we're looking at, so we're looking at 12 terms. And then this is my equation. This is my formula, what I'm plugging numbers into. So let me show you how we do a problem if it looks like this. It's actually easier than the ones we just did. So again, my formula is n divided by 2, and you get your n from this top number. So in your notes, I would write that that top number is n. So for this problem, I'm going to do 12 divided by 2. Then I need my first term and my last term. So let's go find those. To find the first term, I'm going to plug in a 1 right here. So I'm going to do 6 minus 2 times 1. 6 minus 2 times 1 is 4. So my first term is a 4 plus my nth term, well, n is 12, so I want to find the 12th term. So this time I'm going to plug in a 12 for k. So 6 minus 2 times 12 is negative 18. So my 12th term is negative 18. And then let's just plug this in our calculator. 12 divided by 2. And in parentheses, I got 4 plus negative 18. So the sum of the first 12 terms is negative 84. All right, let's do another one that looks like this. So again, I'm starting with the first term. This time, how many terms am I looking for? Look at this equation. That's going to be that number right there. I'm looking for 21 terms. So I'm going to do 21 over 2. The first term, remember to find the first term, we're going to plug in a 1. So 5 plus 4 times 1 is 9. That's my first term. And then my nth term, well, n is 21, so that means I want to plug in a 21. So I'm going to do 5 plus 4 times 21. Let's grab our calculator to do that one. 5 plus 4 times 21 is 89. So the 21st term is 89. So to find the sum, we're going to type this in our calculator, 21 divided by 2, and in parentheses, 9 plus 89. So the sum of the first 21 terms is 1,029. And the last type of problem you will see is if I give you the first term and the nth term and the sum, and I'm going to ask you how many terms were in that series. So we're going to go back to our equation for the series. That's n divided by 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. And remember, that equals the sum. So we're going to plug in what we know into this formula. A sub 1 is 40, so that means right here I'm going to put a 40. A sub n is 380, so instead of a sub n, I'm going to plug in 380. S sub n, what it's going to equal, is 7,350. So now we're just playing a game of get n by itself. I want to solve this equation and get n by itself. So I'm going to start with this parentheses part. I'm going to do 40 plus 380. 40 plus 380 is 420. So I got 7,350. N divided by 2. And when I plug that in, I got 420. Okay? Now, I want to move this 420 to the other side. So these are multiplying, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 420. So these cancel. And 7,350 divided by 420 is 17.5. Over here I still have an n divided by 2. So my last step is to move that n. Well, they're dividing, and the opposite, to move the 2. And the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by 2 here, and I'm going to multiply by 2 here. So 17.5 times 2 is 35. So n is 35. So I added the first 35 terms to get that 7,350. All right, let's do another one that looks just like that. So here's my formula. S sub n, I know, is 24. I do not know n. N is what I'm looking for, how many terms there are. A sub 1 is negative 6. A sub n is 14. And now it's just get n by itself, isolating that variable. So we're going to start with the parentheses. We're going to do negative 6 plus 14. That gives me 8. So I have 24 equals n over 2 times 8. I need to move that 8, and they're multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide both sides by 8. So these 8's cancel. So I get 3 equals n divided by 2. Now I need to move that 2, so I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides. These cancel, and n equals 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So for this series, I summed up the first 6 terms to get 24. So you have a worksheet to do. You have, I think, 3 of each of these types of problems. So you'll have to figure out the sum of the first X amount of terms. You'll have this summation notation that you'll have to do. And then you'll have to tell me how many terms were in the series. So go try that worksheet. If you need help, call me or Mr. Miller, and we will come help you. Good luck.